Hey guys, how are you? It's Brad Sundberg in the studio with MJ. Doing something kind of fun today. I've got a very special guest that has agreed to hang out with me for a few minutes. Actually, I won't use the word old because that's not nice, but a friend of mine for
That's
a
true.
long time. Um, Lisa Brody. Lisa Brody is, I'm going to let her take over in a few seconds, but she is the co-founder. Is that the right way to describe it?
Yeah.
Of an organization, we were just joking about this, that I used to call Dig Deep Give Well, but they had a name change a while back, and the new proper name is Maji Hope. So Lisa Brody, it's good to see you. We met
Thanks.
12 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I moved to Fairhope. Deb and I moved to Fairhope, Alabama in 2008. And I
Wow.
think you were one of the first, you and Curtis were some of the first people that we met. And
Amazing.
you've been sweet, really cool friends ever since. So hello.
It's crazy. That's so long ago. It doesn't feel like that long, but at the same time, I feel like I've known you guys forever.
Well, that's nice. So we're, as part of, number one, we're friends. Number two, I love and support what you guys do. But when I can, I like to use my little platform within the studio with MJ to help other well, really to help you guys. You're kind of my favorites. So before we get into that, just talk a little bit about who you are, how this whole thing started.
So I'll try not to make it super long, but from the time I was a little girl, I always talked about going to Africa. And so I just always had it in my mind. I had a childhood friend who was from Zambia, and we were close friends. She and her family moved to the U.S., and so I knew her. And there was always that thought in the back of my mind. I wonder, what life was like for her, and I wonder if she lived in a hut, and I wonder, did she walk for water? All the things that you read about in books, and so. My friend's name is Vivian, and at some point in this, I'll get back to that in a minute
Yep.
because I have a cool story with that too. But that was really my first time that I remember thinking about Africa. Like, I want to go there. I want to see these things. So for most of my life, I would say, someday I'm going to go to Africa. Well, in 2007, I had the first opportunity to go myself, and I went with a group who was doing like a volunteer medical mission. And while I was there, one of the doctors happened to say, we were having a conversation, and he said, do you know what their greatest problem is in these areas? And we were out in the middle of nowhere. I think
Right.
it took us like 9 hours to get out of the city. And so I said, I don't know, Dr. Chip, what's the greatest need? I
Right.
thought malaria or, I just AIDS maybe. I just had no idea. And he said their greatest need is lack of water. And so it just kind of stuck with me. And I thought, I really want to do something. And so I came home that summer and talked to my family about it. And none of us have any background in nonprofits or well drilling or raising funds or anything like that. And so it just was in the back of my mind for a year. And then the following summer, we probably met you guys about then,
Wow.
went back again, and still came home and said, oh my gosh, we've got to do something. Went a third time, still not knowing what we could do. And after that third summer of going and seeing these women walking hours and hours for unclean water, I mean, literally would go to a pond or a small stream and would get water in a bucket, and it
Hmm.
was just muddy water. Like, we would
Right.
never, ever want to give that to our children and never want to drink it. And so after that, in 2009, just through a crazy series of events, some friends of ours and our family decided, hey, let's just, we've talked about this for 3 years. Let's just do something. And, we thought our thinking was, if we can just help one village,
Sure.
we can make a difference in just one. So that was kind of the background.
Now, I'm gonna stop you there. Um, you guys live in a small town in southern Alabama.
Mhm.
Um, you're multimillionaires that have Rolls Royces lined up all down the driveway,
Not
and
exactly.
all the I'm kidding. Um, and this is when I first met you guys. I mean, it's kind of good for me to refresh the memory because this was right when your organization
Yes.
started. And I tease you, and it's good natured, but a handful of small town Alabamians who created this thing. I think it's amazing. I
It
think it's
really is
fantastic.
nuts. The very first meeting we ever had, we were like, let's invite all of our friends and discuss this and see what people think. And it was during a time when our economy in the US had kind of
Right.
plummeted. And we looked, my husband and I looked around the room of the people that we had invited, and most of them were jobless. We were like,
Wow.
we have chosen the wrong group of friends to come together because nobody had a job.
We got to get some new friends.
Yes.
So how'd the first one happen?
So it ended up that I spoke with a friend who kind of helped us get the nonprofit started. And then we were like, what do we do next? We filed for this 501c3 classification here in the US. We were like, what's next? How do we do this? And I said, gosh, I think we probably need a website. Like maybe that's the next step. We got to get a website. So I was talking to someone about that one day, and this guy just walked past and he came back and he said, I'm sorry, I don't mean to eavesdrop, but can you tell me what you guys are talking about? And I said, well, it's really crazy, but I think we're going to start a nonprofit to do water projects in Africa. And we're thinking maybe the first step is we need a website. And he said, I think I can help you with that. And so we're like, really? Well, we don't have any money. And we think this might take a lot of time. And he said, that's okay. It's no problem. And I said, well, what do you do? And he said, well, currently I don't have a job. And we were like, oh, well, what was your job? And he said, I'm a web designer. And so we were like, oh my gosh, he's a website designer. This is perfect. So it's just funny, as a Christian to have those kinds of things,
Yep.
those paths cross. It's just a neat thing to watch happen.
That's awesome. So the first trip was in 2009.
It ended up being 2010.
Okay.
So we started our fundraising in the fall of 2009, thinking that it would take us a year to raise enough funds to do a water project. And I started out going to places that I knew and talking to schools because I used to be a teacher. And so the thing that I knew how to do was to talk to elementary school children. So that was where we started. So with me being a former educator and my husband's, in education, we just started there. We started at his school. And so I just went in and started telling children about Africa, told them about the people and the things I had seen, and said, but there's this one problem. They're walking hours for unclean water. Will you help me do something? And so little kids brought in empty bottled water containers, just brought them in filled with change.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so, heavy bottles. So that was our first thing. So it ended up that year, in just like 4 or 5 months, we raised enough money to drill our first well in the summer of 2010.
So can I ask a question? I hope it's not inappropriate, but how much does it cost to drill a water well in Africa?
So now, we knew nothing. And I mean, for real, we literally knew nothing about doing this. And so going in, I thought, we can probably get a well drilled for, $5,000 or $6,000 and have a little hand pump put on. That's what I thought.
Right.
And I mean, it just seemed like that's what you could do. And we came to quickly realize that the places that need water the most, it's going to cost the most there to drill, because you have to go so deep to get to the water in those places. So it's not uncommon for us to have a 600-foot deep well. And so when you think about football fields, a well that's 2 football fields deep, I
Right.
mean, that is a stinking deep well.
Mm-hmm.
So we also realized that even if we were able to drill a shallow well, hand pumps would break because the number of people would come to them. So you drill a well in a village, and the village maybe has 2,000 or 3,000 people. Well, suddenly the neighbors hear,
Sure.
they've got clean water, so the neighbors start coming. So, you never know the number of people that are going to come. So through that whole process, we realized that we needed to do deep wells. We could not do hand pumps because they would break, and solar power was the best way to go. Even though it was the most expensive, it's
Right.
still the best way to go. So now, in knowing all that, I'm sorry I had to go all the way around to get to that point.
You're fine.
Drilling can cost anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 to $15,000, and that's just the drilling portion of it.
Sure.
Because we're going through deep rock, and we are having to go so deep. The other thing is, when we do a solar powered water project, it might take 20 panels to be able to pump a well for an entire community. We also like to put in some type of water storage tank. So that increases the price as well. But in the long run, which is, we're wanting this to last for years. And so in the long run, it's a better investment. It's better use of money.
Right. So where was the first, do you remember the name of the village where the first well was? Okay.
It's funny because I remember, I can look at photos and pop the name back out just like that. So the first village's name was Indashangwet, and it's in Tanzania.
In Tanzania.
Yes.
Have all the wells been in Tanzania, or are you in different countries now?
All of the wells that we've done have been in Tanzania.
Do you get pushback from the government, or do they welcome you, or how does that work?
For the most part, we are welcomed, especially on the local community level. There's always hoops you need to jump through,
Right.
paperwork that needs to be done. But for the most part, we feel so loved by the people of Tanzania. And, we really have not had any trouble. As like you hear in other countries, there might be some issues. In Tanzania, the people are so loving and kind, and very welcoming. And
Right.
so.
And I've seen some of the videos, and maybe we can put a link or two in so people can see it themselves.
Yes.
But when that water first comes gushing out, you get goosebumps. I mean,
it's crazy.
Yeah. And people are cheering and crying and laughing and singing. And so at least that's amazing. Well, so how many wells have you guys done?
So we've been involved in, let me think, 17 different projects. We've got 5 right now that were supposed to have been done in June of this year, but the whole world was shut down at that point. So we're hoping to get to those in 2021. We have 2 others that have been on our list for a while that we want to drill, but they're in a very, very remote location. It's going to take some doing, like some roads being built to get there. And what I mean by that, by roads being built, is a lot of times we'll go into places where there's not a way to get the drilling equipment in. And so the people of the village will actually, move rocks and smooth out areas and fill in ditches, and they all come together and do that. It won't be the first time that the local people have built a road just for us to get in.
Wow. So you've got 17 that you've completed.
Mm-hmm.
Brody, that's amazing. That's awesome.
It's a lot. Sometimes you do some that are, like we did one year, there was already a well there, and they wanted piping to pipe to another location. And so that was, we were like, well, that's great. They're just asking for pipes. They wanted to do all the work themselves. They just needed that extra little thing to pipe, to do the
Right.
water project. So we provided piping for one. And then we had drilled in another location where they laid pipe and sent it to 5 other villages. So,
Really?
what starts as one project, can often end up where they share with, other local communities. We had a project done in a small village near a little, you're not going to know where this is. I don't know why I'm even telling you the name. But a little small area called Maiaroa, and there was a school there, and they piped water to 2 different locations from the school property. It was at the corner of 2 villages, and so they shared not only with the children and the families of the school, but they shared with these local villages too. Wow. So yeah, it's amazing.
Is there, and forgive my stupid questions, but is there like rivalry between villages of why did they get it and we didn't? Or
we've never really experienced that. I think that in general there might be rivalry with certain tribes on local water sources like lakes and ponds, but the times that I've seen that, it's more water for their animals and as opposed to the people. And so I have heard of there being rivalry for that. I mean, right. There's a tribe in Tanzania and in Kenya called the Maasai, and they love their cows. And right. So, one family can have hundreds of cows. So if you're needing to find water for hundreds of cows that you're walking hours to get water for, and somebody says, no, you can't come get it, there might be some fighting over that.
Okay. But as far as water for and I'm just curious. I'm a curious person. Yeah. But as far, kids need water, villages are going to share it. And
yes.
Okay, good. So how many times have you been? Have you kept track or approximately?
I have. I've been 18 different times. It's crazy.
You and I, we have full passports. They just look really different.
So. I know. I had to get a new one recently, and because mine was full, and so I had run out of pages, so I had to get a new one.
It was me too. I got a new one late last year, and it's so depressing because it's all like
it's empty.
I like all my stamps. That one has a hole in it. So. Is there a specific story or memory that you have that kind of stands out?
I'll tell you about 2 different ones.
Okay.
So I'll tell you about the very first well we did in the village called Indashangwet, and we had been drilling for several days, and we had been praying, it's our first one. We want to see water come out of the ground. Well, we were hours from where the drilling company was headquartered, so there was no getting any more supplies. This was what we had. And the head driller came and told me, he said, we just have a few more pipes left. And so if we can't get to water on this, then we'll just have to choose a new location. And, this is my first well. Yeah. And so I was just devastated, like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that could happen. So, we drilled, got down, there was 2 pipes left, and they were drilling, got to that, second to the last pipe, and then there's 1 pipe left.
And the pipes are what, like 20 feet long, or?
Are they 10? Yeah, they're 10 feet.
Wow.
10 meters? Is that right? Curtis is over here. He's telling me 10 meters.
Hey, Curtis.
Hey.
So, anyway, so they're 10 meters long, and we get halfway through the final pipe and water burst out. And wow. It comes. And the thing that I remember most about that one, aside from all of the team had left to go do something, and I was the only one who was determined that I was going to stay there and wait for the water to come. Well, I had walked away for just a moment, and all of a sudden I heard the horn honking and people yelling. And so I went running across this field and got back over there, and water was just spraying out. And it was just such a humbling moment to be there, to see something so crucial and so needed, and just to watch and know how many people that I represented. All those children who had brought their bottles of change, yep. And the people who had given me, $100 and said, just do with it. It was just humbling because people trusted me, and I'd never done anything like this. So I remember that the drillers honked the horn on their rig, and all of a sudden, from all around, people came running with their buckets, and you could just see them running and shouting, and it just was so moving.
You had to be in tears.
It makes me cry every time when I think about it. I'll never forget that. Another group that has just been, they were such a joy to work with. The village is called Kiteto, and they were such a joy. They are the first village that actually had a survey done and a plan in place, and their whole community had been praying and fasting for 50 days.
Wow.
50 days that God would bless them for water. And they were getting up every morning in the middle of the night, like at 2 a.m, and coming to this local church building, and were praying. And so we had a trip planned, and Kiteto was not on our list to even go to. And I had heard about it, but it wasn't on the list for that trip. Well, we had a 2-day event that was planned at part of this trip, at the end of this trip, and the event had gotten canceled. So I thought, we could probably drive to Kiteto and see what they're doing there. So I talked to our board members who were with me and our team, and I said, would you guys just want to make a random trip for 2 days to this village? I have no idea what the conditions are like. I don't know where we'll stay. I don't know what we'll eat, but if we can just get there. So we all packed our backpack with just one change of clothes. We packed a toothbrush. We took granola bars because we didn't know if we'd be able to eat while we were there. We did all the things. And we got there, and it happened to be on a Sunday. And our connection person, was a Christian and said, hey, come and go to church with us. So here we all go in. And it was the end of their 50-day fast. We did not know this.
Wow.
They did not know we were coming. We did not know that they had been fasting for this. So we got in to this little church service, and they announced what we were there for, and the crowd of people went wild, and we were like, wow, this is a reception. What is going on?
Right.
It's just, you're kind of awkward. You're like, why are they celebrating like this? And it wasn't until after the service that they told us we've been praying for 50 days that God would give us clean water. So they had a church, but also had a school there, and there was a community space of property where they let people grow food. Anyway, they had this whole plan set that they had been praying for, and so we were honored to do work with them, because I've never had a group that finished things up before we even left the country. Like the manual labor was done. The pipe trench was dug and the pipe was laid, and we hadn't even gotten back to the city yet. So they were
that's amazing.
Very ready and willing.
That's God's timing.
Yes.
So did you do their well like the following year? Was that one of your next projects?
So we went to their location and met them and all that, and told them we were leaving and going home, and that we would be praying, and that we would start fundraising for their project. We got into the fundraising process and asked them if they could get some people who would contribute from their community. And so they had a list of about 80 people that signed their name to this piece of paper saying that they were willing to not only do the manual labor that was needed, but that they would be willing to donate towards the project. So they ended up having the electricity ready to go, and there was electricity close by that they were able to hook into, had the electricity hooked up so that when we drilled for water, it was already, the electricity was there for them. And it just was unbelievable. We've never had one that was so done so well.
Like a well-oiled machine.
Very, very much.
You're passionate about this. I love that.
I know. I'm trying not to be overwhelming. I'm pretty intense when it comes to this.
No, but that's what I love about this and you guys. This is real deal.
It is.
So you and I have not rehearsed this. I sent you a quick little email, but I'm going to ask a question.
Okay.
there's a lot of charities, especially in the US. Years ago it was kind of a big deal that, you send money into a charity and this much of it. So if somebody sends Maji Hope, I'm so used to Dig Deep Give Well, but I'm old school. If
It's okay.
somebody sends Maji Hope a donation, how much of it goes to drilling those wells?
So everybody that works with us is a volunteer. So even my husband and I, even though we run it, we don't get paid to do this.
Really?
And the only person who gets paid is our CPA, and that's just to keep us legal with the government. We don't want to get in trouble or file something wrong, or
Right.
they're just like our double check people that make sure everything we do is on the up and up. So we have a little shop here in our little town, and there are things in the shop that we sell to help pay for the administrative things that we might have. We have an office.
Shout out. I've been there.
Yes. So we have that office, and there are things that we sell at the shop that helps cover those expenses. And then we have a few private donors who also help with those expenses, because after having the nonprofit be in our living room and dining room for 10 years, we finally were like, okay, it's time to have an office.
Yes. and I'm going off script for a second. Not that I have a script, but just, a couple of little notes. I honestly thought you were doing maybe one a year. You've got this thing down. You're doing 2, 3, 4 a summer now?
Yeah. So it really depends. So, there are some years where the project is huge and we can only do one.
Right.
And then there are some years where we might pull off 2 or 3. And like the project the ones that were supposed to have been done in June that we're hoping to do next year are all in sort of the same area. And so it costs less to get the drillers to go over there. And we didn't talk about our drillers who do the people who do our work. So we do need to discuss that.
Okay, go.
So this is a crazy thing. Our drillers are actually Korean, and they're a nonprofit just like we are. And
really?
So they only charge us what it costs them. They do not make money either. They're volunteers as well.
How does a Korean drilling company wind up in Tanzania having lunch with Lisa and Curtis Brody?
Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother, we can do that on another episode. I can just do crazy connections that will blow people's mind. We need that.
Okay, all right.
But it was an amazing story. A whole bunch of what sometimes people would call coincidences that we know are not, led up to how we met them. And now they're the only people that drill for us. It's amazing. It's a great partnership.
And are they full time in Tanzania, or
they are full time? They are there year round. So
okay.
So that makes it nice. If we're not able to be in the country when drilling needs to happen, we can just send them. Usually when we work on a project, we will go in and meet with the community and hear what their dreams are. And then we ask them, what part will you join in doing this? We usually ask for some type of financial contribution. We ask for free labor. We want the community invested in it. Yeah, and we want them to be part of it. We're not there to just come in and say, oh, this is what you should do. Our way is best. It's not that at all. We literally come in and, listen to what their leaders and, what they want and what their dreams are. And then we just say, well, here's something we can help do. And it's just a good partnership. It's not us coming in saying our way is best. Goodness, we have learned so much from our African friends. It has totally changed our lives, and it's so much for the better.
Right. All right. So I'm going to shift gears on you, and I have no idea what your answer is going to be, but that's okay. So I do these kooky in the studio with MJ seminars, or events, I like to call them. And I've got, hardcore Michael Jackson fans all over the world that really love his music. So would you consider yourself an all a Michael Jackson fan? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, so it's really weird. I would say that I am a fan, and I was very like I remember when he died, and there was just this sadness. I was like, I cannot believe, I don't know. It really, strangely enough, affected me. Now, I wouldn't say like I'm not going to go around wearing a white glove or shiny shoes or
Well, I
whatever.
don't either.
Not me, but I really did. Like, I just felt like he was so much a part of my childhood. Like, I remember when Thriller came out and we were like, what's a video? We didn't know what a video
Right.
was. So I remember like that's a big part.
Okay. Do you have a favorite MJ song, just out of curiosity?
I actually do. I knew you were going to ask that. And so I was immediately Man in the Mirror
Wow.
is my favorite.
Okay. So let's see.
What about
There.
you?
Well, I mean, I worked on Man in the Mirror. So I was there when he sang it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, Saida Garrett wrote the song with Glenn Ballard, and so I'm still friends with Saida. I need to reconnect with Glenn. I haven't talked to him in a long time. My favorite songs, it's probably one you haven't heard. It's a song called "Stranger in Moscow."
Okay, no, I
And
haven't heard that one.
after we're done, if you want to YouTube it, it's a beautiful song. That,
Okay,
and then a song that you probably do know called "Human Nature"
okay.
off the Thriller album. So
So cool.
so
I love it.
I worked on Stranger, but I love Human Nature. So
Okay. Yeah, I'll look those up.
so what we're doing, Michael loved Halloween, and so this has been such a weird year for me because I haven't done an event. I think my last event was in February in Miami. And
Okay.
normally I should have been in Australia right now. We should have been to Europe 2 or 3 times this year. And it's just been a ridiculous year. So what we're doing is we're doing something called an In the Studio with MJ 5K.
Okay.
And what I've learned, if I say the word 5K to you, you know what it is right away.
Right.
Most Europeans have no idea. They know what 5 kilometers are, but they don't know what a 5K is.
Really? Okay.
So I've had to, I learn every day too. So basically, we're just encouraging people to walk, run, rollerblade, bike, whatever your thing is. I mean, COVID has not been good for my diet. And I've eaten way too many potato chips, and so I'm doing the best I can to get up off the couch. I'm doing between 5 and 9K, about 3 times a week is kind
Wow.
of my goal. And I'm not a runner. I walk fast, and
Okay.
so we're just encouraging people to do the In the Studio with In the Studio with MJ 5K,
Okay.
and then we're kind of pulling you into it. And I wanted to have a face, with your organization. So part of the proceeds really are going to go to you, which is something
Right.
that I love. And we've even set up a little link on the website where people can give directly. It goes through me, but it's money that's going to go straight to you guys. And there's already been a number of people that have just thrown money into that pot. All right, so Lisa, what we're doing is we've got like 3 different tiers that people can participate in. The bronze tier, they can just run. They don't have to pay anything. They just, they're kind of part of it. At the end of all this, we're going to make a video that people can send in their pictures. I hope to have pictures from Russia, from Spain, from South America. I think it's Hungary. We have so many people in Hungary that have signed up, which is really fun. So we're going to put together like a little music video or something of people running and being a part of it. So the bronze tier is no charge. If they do the silver or the gold, then they get on the silver level, they get a T-shirt, and they get it's a I'm calling it a medal, but it's a CD, and on the CD, we'll call it surprises. There's no unreleased Michael Jackson music, but it's some pretty cool stuff that they're going to get. And then on the gold level, they get one of my cool In the Studio with MJ caps. So, and then we have a little drawing that we're doing besides that. But what I think what you and I are talking about is for the first 50 people that sign up with silver or gold, you're going to toss in a special little gift. Do you want to talk about it?
Yes. Yeah. So in Tanzania where we are, we love to have the local villagers involved in doing the water projects. And so a lot of these women will make beaded jewelry or beaded Christmas ornaments or baskets. And what we do is we bring those back here and we sell them, give them to donors, whatever. And so I would love, this is just an example of one of the beaded Christmas ornaments.
I
They come
love
in
it.
all colors. They're so sweet. And when you think like the women who make these, most of them live in mud huts, and they're farming and raising their families and cooking over a fire and walking to get water, and yet they take the time to do this. And so, it's more than just a Christmas ornament for me, because when I look at it, it's just representative of one of the women who've worked to get water in their community. So we would love to throw in one of these to, the first, maybe 50.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well,
I
good.
love it. That's very generous. Thank you.
You are so welcome.
So sign up. We still have, I won't tell our listeners how many have signed up, but there's still room for a few more that will receive the handmade African Christmas ornament, which is beautiful. So, and then a portion of every silver and gold is going to go right back to your organization. And
Awesome.
I'm so happy to be a part of that. Or if you want to donate directly to Maji Hope, I keep saying it wrong, don't I? It's Maji.
Maji. Yes.
Maji. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I want to call it Dig Deep Give Well, but I just have to push that out of my brain.
That's all right.
If you want to donate directly to Maji Hope, you can do that through our ticket site, or go right to your website, which is www.majihope.org.
Yes.
Awesome. Lisa Brody, I think you and Curtis are awesome people. I think the world of you. I love your organization. And it's so good talking to you again.
Yes.
Any final thoughts?
I think we've covered it all. We will have to have a crazy episode coming up of strange connections and coincidences that are just, they'll really freak some people out, because you're like, there's no way all these crazy things can happen, but there is.
Awesome. We haven't talked about your ice cream shop.
Oh yeah.
So if you're in, it's in Silver Hill, right?
It is. It's in Silver Hill, which is in southern Alabama. Anybody
a thriving metropolis it is.
Of 600 people. And by the way, you didn't say this, you kind of joked about it, but just in case people, I do not live in a mansion, and I don't have Rolls Royces. My husband and I both are teachers, and we own an ice cream shop. So, when you're thinking about a little $4 ice cream cone, that you're not making much money off of that. But
sometimes my sarcastic humor does get the best of me, but no, you're awesome.
Clarify that.
Absolutely.
But we do have a sweet little ice cream shop in southern Alabama. So anybody who's going to Gulf Shores or Orange Beach, for a vacation, you literally drive down Highway 59, and it's 5 minutes we're 5 minutes from Highway 59 on the way to the beach. So it's fun to stop in. We have a ton of African things that we sell that benefit Maji Hope. And then our ice cream literally is the best made.
It is.
I haven't had any better. It's made in Mobile, and so it's super fresh, really, really good local ice cream.
Awesome. So to my friends in Germany and Switzerland and Spain, you must come to the U.S. and
yes, we welcome you.
Silver Hill, Alabama, and meet Lisa and Curtis Brody and have some ice cream.
That's right. Come anytime.
Awesome. All right. Think the world of you guys. Stay safe. I will talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds great. See you
Take
later.
care, Lisa. Bye now.